Psychological safety is a top-tier priority for HR and OD. It's considered vital for high-performing teams to embody the openness, transparency, ownership and engagement that organisations crave today. It sounds like a no-brainer, but the brutal reality is it promotes weakness and dependency. Look, I get it. If you go into a meeting expecting to get pilloried for a mistake or blamed for poor performance, you'll keep your mouth firmly shut to avoid being attacked. So much for candour and transparency. We need all team members to feel that they can raise any genuine topic without fear of being targeted as a result. But there's only one problem. Psychological safety is not the answer because the way it's understood and practiced fails the individual and the team, doing more damage than good in the process. In this video, I'll explain exactly why the accepted narrative on psychological safety is so wrong, what harm it causes, and precisely what to build instead. Okay, let's dive into why psychological safety, as it's practiced, won't work. Let's take a senior executive team that's been trained, coached and facilitated to listen, reflect and respect the diversity of opinion in the room. They don't interrupt when someone else is speaking, they don't shut down new ideas, and they only ever criticise the idea, not the person behind it. And even then with a good dose of emotional intelligence, which means every statement is an intelligent response, never a knee-jerk reaction. This is the perfect team on paper that will welcome any newcomer and make them feel totally safe psychologically and emotionally. Now, I've never encountered a team like that, but let's suppose they do exist. No reason why they shouldn't. Collectively, they provide complete psychological safety for anyone that interacts with them. And of course, they provide the same for themselves. But what happens when one of them moves to another team or another organisation? Do they take that psychological safety with them and sprinkle the magic on others? Of course they don't, because in this case, any feeling of safety is derived from the collective, not the individual. And this is the nub of the problem. Joining another team that is not psychologically safe is akin to walking into a lion's den. Expecting some teams to provide psychological safety is like asking a lion to go vegan. They don't know how, and even if they did, they would choose not to. Now, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but I'm not saying it's bad either. It's a fact of life that isn't going to change overnight. There are some super productive people out there, worth their weight in gold, that will eat you for breakfast if all you know is psychological safety. Personally, I would prefer everyone to act with respect and decorum. I'm guessing you would too, but the world doesn't serve this up on a plate. Instead, it serves up diversity, contrast, polarity, and difference. That is its nature. If you want peace, you have to experience turmoil. If you want order, you have to know about chaos. If you want heat, you have to know what cold is. And the same is true for other people's behaviour. Just because you've experienced psychological safety doesn't give you any right to demand it from another. Their behaviour is not your business. Your behaviour is. The potential damage that this can do to individuals is not hard to envisage, particularly if they have cultivated another popular fad, vulnerability. See my video on this subject. The link's in the description. Stress is the most obvious result arising from being incapable of dealing with conflict, adversity, animosity, even bullying. I'd be the last to say that any of these are desirable. Many would say they are not even acceptable, but they are a fact of life and not going anywhere soon. So what is the answer? The answer is very simple once you stop trying to make teams psychologically safe and turn your attention to the individual, namely you. What we want are individuals that are psychologically resilient, and the only place to start is with you. Psychological resilience means that the individual is not thrown by external circumstances and does not rely on anyone else but themselves to remain composed, or at least re-establish equanimity quickly if it is disturbed by another. How do we cultivate psychological resilience? Two ingredients are needed. Firstly, a knowledge of how our mind works. This sounds a bit facile, but you'd be surprised how many people don't know, for example, that thoughts create feelings. There are a few simple dynamics like this that need to be understood before you can start to work with your mind and not against it. There's no neuroscience or psychology required either. It's much simpler than all that. Secondly, you need to start putting into practice certain disciplines that will help you master those inner dynamics. The disciplines are not about self-denial or austerity. Rather, they're genuine inquiry into observing how the mind works from moment to moment. Another word for this is metacognition, which raises the individual to the level of observer rather than actor, relieving them from the impact of activity around them. After a little while, events or behaviour that would normally trigger all kinds of negative patterns of strong emotion, often learnt decades ago and practiced ever since, have much less effect on you. Instead, they provoke a non-judgmental curiosity that allows you to respond intelligently rather than react unconsciously. You remain calm when everyone around you is losing it. This is real resilience. And even when you do feel disturbed by situations and people, that disturbance is not as powerful as it would have been and doesn't last as long. When you have developed even a little of this kind of resilience, you can start to work with people that would have really got your goat before. You're not suddenly going to become best buddies, but you can at least get on well enough to work together in a team. So when you focus on individual psychological resilience, instead of trying to create psychological safety in a team, you give people the capacity to work independently of other people's behaviour. And the elegance of this approach is that it is contagious. It rubs off on others. They witness your relative calm and serenity and think, I want some of that. Now I can hear you thinking, that sounds so passive, Chris. What do you do when you witness unacceptable behaviour? For instance, when someone belittles another in a meeting who is not strong enough to deal with it. Well, you speak up and challenge the behaviour, but, and this is the difference, you do it from a place of calm and stillness, a place of resilience, which is simply clarifying what is going on that needs changing. It's an invitation which others are free to accept or decline. Ultimately, you are free to choose whether you continue to work with that team or not. That is the beauty of free will. The question is whether the choice is made as an unconscious reaction or an intelligent response. Let me give you the example of Maria. Maria is a senior manager in a packaging company. She's good at her job and has a track record of growing her business units. She is highly agreeable and conscientious, but she doesn't get on with her boss, who is abrasive, driven, and assertive. They clash repeatedly. Her boss puts her down, criticizes her in meetings, almost to the point of ridicule. Recently, it's been getting her down so much that she sleeps badly and spends her free time dreaming of another job with a perfect boss. When I spoke to her, I asked her what she was feeling in these negative interactions. She told me that she felt small, worthless, and a failure. I asked her what she did during these interactions, and she said she would stop contributing and go into a shell. Of course, one option is to leave the job, but what tends to happen in these cases is that although the cause of your problems seem to be coming from someone else, you are very much part of the equation and will take that with you wherever you go. So it's just a matter of time before you meet the same dynamics again in another context and with a different antagonist. I explained this to Maria, who immediately got it and agreed to spend time with me discovering more about her proclivity for ending up as the victim of her boss. With the insights into how and why this was happening came the ability to deal with it. Instead of retiring, she started to speak up and explain herself, not with belligerence or animosity, but with clarity and detail. Her progress was rapid. She noticed how her boss became less inclined to target her and even started to use her as an exemplar of good practice, occasionally even praising her. Now let me be very clear that at no point did I attempt to discover the root cause of Maria's initial behaviour with her boss, probably down to some childhood incident. That's the job of therapy, which is simply not necessary in this kind of scenario. It is more than enough to witness your own behaviour in action in the moment to start the process of freeing yourself from it. Attention and observation are all that required. This is metacognition, self-awareness, or self-leadership. And as simple as it may sound, many of us do not find the process easy because they have practiced immersion in and identification with thought instead. She and her boss are still not best buddies and probably never will be, but the mutual respect which was previously lacking means they can work together effectively. It's deeply significant that the way her boss feels about Maria mirrors the way she feels about herself. When you see little worth in yourself, others will tend to also. When you begin to value yourself, others will too. This is the power that we have, that so many of us fail to recognize. Being aware of this, Maria uses it to develop her people who love working for her. She sleeps well again and even looks forward to Monday mornings. She sees her boss as providing her with opportunities for insight rather than being just a pain in the neck. He is on a different journey and has not yet woken up to what Maria sees more clearly than ever. Maria also understands that his development is not her responsibility. This is true resilience, which comes from the individual, not from the collective. It also comes from within, never from outside. So the next time someone sings the praises of psychological safety, you can gently deconstruct the whole myth and offer psychological resilience as the infinitely better option instead. From a place of calm clarity, of course. Another serious fault with the concept of psychological safety is that it is based on the notion that certainty is good and uncertainty is bad. People crave certainty in order to feel safe, but true certainty is anti-life. Let me explain. If you were able to achieve complete certainty, which thankfully is not possible, everything would be predictable. Nothing unexpected would ever occur. You would know exactly what you will perceive, think, and feel before it happens. No surprises. If you reflect on this condition, you'll see that it has no life about it. It is as dead as a doornail. In fact, it is death itself. So many, in their normal states of consciousness, believe that a state akin to death is preferable to the state of reality that they are in. How messed up is that? So embrace uncertainty, welcome it as life itself. In doing so, you open yourself to the infinite possibilities that life is and help to establish the true psychological resilience that is available to us. If you enjoy this video, subscribe to see more. See you in the next one.